Check it out, we're in the Great Icky Bog Swamp. Why wasn't I sitting here when I was reading A Blast from the Past? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to read a short story. It's just going to be brief. It's just going to be one section. So this story is like parallel plots on a parallel timeline of multiple things happening in different areas that coincide with things Jane did. So here we go. Oh, and this is going to be like cannonball style. So just plunge in and listen. The dark horse that dared the Paladin. Sir, Dark Horse is now online. Running preliminary status report, transmission signal at 100%, awaiting your mark to enter sentient mode, sir. Received prelim, Lumholm. Sir, prelim data is exemplary. All physiological measurements normal. The only data set that is questionable is emotional regulation of the subject, sir. Having an insatiable penchant for original Earth luxuries and symbols of status, there was a previously lit half of a Havana cigar which was being compressed between the director's teeth as he said, "Lundholm, this subject is atypical. That's why we're here. Prepare for my mark. Where are my eyes and ears? Sir, initiating audio and visual live feed in 2, 1. Inside the top secret research and development lab located in the subterranean levels of the Foundry Incorporated, seated in a rolling office chair in front of many instrument panels and a wall-mounted monitor that, due to its size, could likely have been mistaken for Noah's Ark, was operator specialist Asger Lundholm. Standing behind Lundholm was the director of Foundry Inc. in full costume, pretending to be United States Army General George S. Patton. All at once, the live feed came up and the director became fascinated by the large wall-mounted monitor. O.S. Lundholm and the director observed the following scene. It was early morning in Hackensack, New Jersey. Jane Rask was house-sitting for her sister Julie. The house was a quaint and cozy 2-bedroom, red brick little number. This was Julie's safe house, of which in total she owned 3, all of which were completely necessary because of Julie's supplemental income source. Alone in the house and still wearing what she slept in, Jane fumbled from room to room and into the kitchen. "Why, I could eat a horse," said Jane. Upon discovering that there was no food either in the fridge or any of the cupboards, Jane said, "A sandwich from Marino's sounds really amazing." Opening the fridge once more, Jane took out her new packs of cigarettes. Just then the doorbell rang, and Jane stashed the pack, found a lighter, and answered the door. Inside the TSRDL, the director spoke. "Light it up, Lundholm. Sir, Dark Horse going hot in 4, 3, 2, 1. Dark Horse Inkling now flying solo with full permissions and authority. Transmission signal is 100%, sir." O.S. Lundholm and the director looked up at the massive monitor. "This is giving me collywobbles, Lundholm," said the director with a certain raspy growl in his voice. Small pieces of tobacco leaves fell all over the instrument panels. Yes, sir." Jane Rask unlocked and opened the front door to 3 men in fedoras and trench coats. "My sister is all paid up on the protection money," she said, and slammed the door while covering her mouth to keep from laughing. The doorbell rang again. Jane reopened the door and was met with 3 Foundry Inc. ID markers similar to hers. "Yes?" she asked. Agent 1 glanced at Jane's sleepwear and then began speaking. "Good morning, Agent Rask. I'm Agent 1. This is Agent 2, and that is 3. We're here to escort you to Foundry Inc. We have sequestration orders from the Office of Domestic Privates. Jane physically shuddered and her eyes grew wide as she said, "Fucking excuse me?" Agent 2 slapped Agent 1 upside the head, causing 1's hat to sit off kilter. What he is so indelicately attempting to say is that we are here on orders from the Officer of Interior Secrets, explained Agent 2. What do they think their top spy is a spy? Asked Jane. It's their new Kumbaya program, Agent Rask, said Agent 2. Agent Rask, I'd like to apologize for that comment. Can I make it up for you with a joke? Said Agent 1. If it's not funny, I'm not going, said Jane. Agent 1 cleared his throat and began his joke. Did you hear about the cheese factory that exploded in France? There was silence, and then Jane lifted her arms and let them drop at her legs. Agent 1 continued. There was nothing left but debris. The Havana cigar was pulverized between the director's molars as he said, "Okay, Agent Rask, show me what you're made of." Jane turned her hands against each other, making a capital T and waving it about in front of the number agents. Jane then pulled the waistband forward on her tiny sleep shorts and retrieved the lighter and fresh pack of cigarettes. Pitching small pieces of cellophane and foil to and fro, Jane made 2 full draws on the now lit cigarette before she spoke. "This is bullshit. No, why won't you just let me beat me up? I know how to do numb. I know how to keep people just close enough. You want me to feel everything? What are you talking about is the equivalent of diving into a deep ocean trench with a strong light. Do you know what is at the bottom of the deep ocean trench? Blind fish. What the fuck is blind fish going to do with a strong light? Blind fish already know how to survive without light. Feelings? Fuck." Jane drew again on the cigarette as if it would escape her very fingertips. No one spoke or moved as she exhaled wildly. "And another thing," Jane roared. Dark Horse, onboard systems, passphrase accepted. Dark Horse rendering subject unconscious. Jane collapsed where she stood, the cigarette still burning on the concrete. Crushed tobacco leaves were flying like falling confetti. The director heartily slapped O.S. Lundholm across his shoulders in celebration as he said with irrepressible joy, "Lundholm, did you see that? Dark Horse dropped my top agent faster than a dead donkey." O.S. Lundholm caught his breath as the director continued speaking. "Listen, tell Ocean to dial that punchback before production. We don't need to be killing civilians on my birthday prematurely." "Yes, sir," said Lundholm as the effervescent, fully costumed director exited the viewing room. Lundholm thought to himself, for fear of listening devices, "This guy is unhinged. I have to do something." Lundholm sent Ocean an email stating that the director was ecstatic with Dark Horse's performance, but wanted the production models to have foul, F-O-U-L, foul effects. Lundholm then sent an email to HR giving his immediate resignation. Looking around the viewing room, Lundholm realized Dark Horse was still sentient. Lundholm shrugged his shoulders, powered his station down, walked all the way to reception, and scanned out, surrendering his ID marker. Finally, as Lundholm handed Jeffy a sealed pouch of shelled walnuts, he exited the foundry. This moment, right now, is the beginning of enlightenment and of the enlightening and multifarious journey of Dark Horse. From Agent 1's pocket to the floor of Lloyd's bar, where Dark Horse was swept away and discarded, the Super Inkling's only mode of transportation was reliance on others. Hair, handbags, shoestrings, and the like were now how the Inkling traveled. Dark Horse's nuclear battery helped the Inkling keep track of time. Dark Horse was also aware of the absence of connection. Much as Lundholm and the director had observed Dark Horse wrangle the interminable Jane Rask, Dark Horse had very clearly observed Lundholm and the director. From Lundholm's silent shock and awe to the director's outburst reaction of childlike exuberance, which was born from a place of exquisite tragedy. This awareness of loss of connection, as Dark Horse analyzed it, had initialized an onboard anomaly. Present, but barely perceptible in the beginning, Dark Horse simply followed current program protocols and carried on with the awareness of the lack of connection that was slowly festering. An abscess in absence of connection. Latching, hooking, hiding, more often falling, only to again be swept up and discarded anew. The tetrapod inkling Dark Horse eventually hitched a ride off of Earth 4. Dark Horse's interplanetary trek stretched from weeks in and out of months and across years that proved to the inkling just how formidable the cosmos really were. The abscess in Dark Horse, the abscess of connection, slowly altered its source code. Biological creatures that accidentally came into contact with Dark Horse were rendered unconscious without the use of the passphrase. Over and over, folks dropped like dead donkeys, and other innocent folks were carted away by local law enforcement agencies, and in each situation, no one really knowing the truth. Eventually, Dark Horse ended up in Atro City, on planet Vulpus, by means of illegal trade. Dark Horse was on the cusp of being sold into the nefarious paws of the Weasel clan when a fistfight broke out inside Jane's place. Joe, the living marble statue bartender, cleared the tavern and began to clean up. Joe ran a towel across a table when presently he wiped over something small and solid. Lifting the towel, Joe found a tiny metal tetrapod and using his solid marble fingers raised it up and said, "Well, hello, you." Dark Horse onboard systems acknowledged. The next day, a belligerent, spiky, blonde-haired man entered Jane's place. Joe initialized the guileful conflict with the blonde man, embedding Dark Horse into the rude man's leather coat. Dark Horse's battery core was Cobalt-60, which had a half-life of 5.27 years and was now nearly expired. Dark Horse, onboard systems powering saving mode on. Dark Horse periodically monitored its environment. Suddenly, Dark Horse noticed its wearer was shouting to another person that was undetectable except for by voice. Then the loud metallic sound, clack, click, and shouted in an oddly familiar voice from Dark Horse's past. And another thing, exploded the spiky blonde-haired man. Dark Horse, onboard systems full power, passphrase accepted. Dark Horse rendering subject unconscious. Dark Horse absence of connection rectified. Dark Horse battery core fully depleted. Dark Horse offline.